Like their main carry, like yeah, G's been doing great dishing damage out, but they really need a real carry to do the damage. You know what might be a solution? Lincoln Sphere. Either stop the Winter's Curse. He's popping his BKB in time, but all that stuff goes through Magic Immunity.
He's still just so far away, though. I don't think he'll have an opportunity to farm at this
G's
game.
got an Ultimate Orb right now. This could be a Hex, but I think it has to be a Lincoln Sphere. Because they need to keep the Gyro alive.
It's their only hope.
Exactly. It's the only way to keep Gyro stopping or not dying to the Lina ult.
This is so scary here, though, Purge. All 5 buybacks from eHome are available. None of the buybacks are available for Virtus Pro.
It's the last chance, and they've got their cooldowns. They're ready to go. Refreshers
They've
up on
got
time.
double Ravage.
He sold the mech.
Oh, here we go.
Will they see it coming?
Well, it hasn't been revealed yet, so probably not. Glyph comes out right away to try and hold the barracks a bit longer. G off to the side. Phobos is smoked up. It gets broken. Ravage number 1. Connects on 2. ROTK will be able to BKB.
He's saving the second.
Phobos holding on to it for now. He hasn't even refreshed yet. eHome taking a surprising amount of damage.
He catches
There's
a
the
lot.
second Ravage. Illidan,
alive.
He could go
Nope,
down.
dead.
He's dead indeed. ROTK falls as G jumps out of the base. It's a good hold for VP for now, but the buybacks from eHome are coming. Now G outside of the base will be able to blink back. Barracks going down here, but Phobos coming out of the base. He's pretty tanky. Walrus Punch will lock him in place. Ice Shards to try and break up the back line. And now Phobos will certainly fall. The rest of VP on the back foot, headed towards the well. It's Yang in hot pursuit. He'll get the Ancient Apparition. G with the last-ditch Sonic Wave, but this seems to be the end here, Purge. It's eHome that will take a 2-0 over Virtus Pro and secure themselves top 4 in Group B of the International 5 group stages.
Oh, what an emotional game. Up and down. One team getting an advantage. VP getting the advantage back. They grabbed the core items, but in the end, the cores were just too strong against what VP were dealing with, and Gyro just didn't have the HP to survive those Lina ults, and CTY pulls through in the end with some awesome support play. Like, everybody on eHome just absolutely clutched it after the 40-minute mark. Like, at that point, they were like, we're winning this game, and they absolutely pulled it out.
What an incredible series. Game 1, super heated and action-packed. Game 2, even better. It came down to the bitter end. VP putting up one hell of a good fight, but in the end, they just couldn't do it. With that, folks, we're done for now. We're going to hand it back over to the analysts to see what they thought about that game.
And here we are.
Okay.
We're right here. We haven't gone anywhere. All right. Well, okay. We'll go through the situations a little bit later. We caught the later half or portion of that game. And what you guys think? I mean, eHome looking really strong today, apparently. Just not. I mean, I guess they drew a lot, so that doesn't really say too much until now. That doesn't say too much about how they were playing. VP trying to put up a really good fight towards the end, but eHome definitely had their number going all the way.
Yeah. Well, that last game, I don't know. That was absolutely completely crazy. You can't really fault either team for anything in that game.
Yeah.
Or well, you can look into the individual fights and be like, okay, they're making mistakes. That's not what I mean, but it's very chaotic in the late game, and I don't feel like eHome looked like way stronger than VP in this game too. It's ridiculously close for a reason, but they do get the 2-0 win.
When he
eHome has also been playing pretty solidly in general.
It's like so lucky.
I would say yes, they've got some draws, but they've shown good games for sure. And now it's going to get really interesting.
Yes.
Let's do a little bit of an update on the score situation, unless you want to break down the game a little bit more.
I mean,
we'll do that right after.
Yeah, we can do it right after, and I think all of us while watching each fight was interesting. Sure, there were faults and whatnot. It got a little crazy.
Just okay, but there were so many good games.
The result is what matters, and at that point, every fight just matters. It's whoever really wins the last fight that comes through, and that happened to be in VP's base. So let's bring up the standings and let's break this down, because the dust still has not settled in Group B.
Now, the reason VP are going to be kicking themselves a little bit over that loss is not the fact that they... Oh, well, it is the fact that they didn't get their 1 point. It's not that they didn't 2-0. That's the problem. The problem is that they didn't at least draw.
Yes.
Because now at this point they have 9 points, and that means that their fate now rests with Empire. Because if Empire, who are going up now against MVP Hot 6 in their next match, if they 2-0 them, you can see Empire will end up on 9 points, which would tie them with VP. And we don't do heads up for 4th place. For 4th place, there's a tiebreaker series being played.
Yeah, that's it's too important. So.
Yes. So therefore, all of the results don't matter if it's tied for 4th place. And that is pretty likely that Empire could 2-0 MVP. And in addition to that, of course, if you're looking for eHome, they have another matchup. They will be playing C-Deck as their last game. And that's important, too, because if one of the teams 2-0s, they actually get 1st place. And even though it looks like it would be a shared 1st place for eHome and EG, it is for eHome alone. because they have the better tiebreaker going down.
Right.
The tiebreaker is you start at the top, you go down, and you check matchups. And they both, should eHome win, both eHome and EG would have 2-0'd CDEC, but then against VP, EG drew, and eHome would have then 2-0'd them.
Yes.
As we just saw. So both series remaining very, very important.
Yeah, so nothing really still settled. Unfortunately, MVP Hot 6 doesn't, even if they get the 2-0 against Empire, they are still going to be just at the very bottom 2 slots of Group B. So they will not get a choice going to the bracket stage. So that's something I guess we can confirm after their match against Newbie. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we have like one set of matches, right? So 2 matches left in the day, in the week of the group stages, and we still don't know exactly how things are panning out or even which 4 teams exactly from Group B are going to move on is pretty crazy. Winter, do you dare to even predict how this is going to go through? Because it's just getting flip-flopped all back and forth.
I started by saying Group A is slightly stronger, but apparently not.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, right? Like, regardless, I guess what we know for sure is Group B is much closer together. And you could say, I guess, there were more upsets. But there were also a lot of draws in Group B. So it seems like they were just much more even in ground.
We wouldn't be in this kind of situation if there weren't those draws at the start. I mean, I know starting my first day, I had the doubleheader with EG where they dropped 1 game against Newbie and a game against Virtus Pro, which most people didn't expect. They were expecting EG to come in and be able to 2-0 their opponents pretty swiftly. And now you look at it, had they been able to do that with just one of those teams, they wouldn't have to worry about this position. So
yeah, and a lot of those other situations could have changed too. I mean, the fact that even Newbie finishing the whole week with a 0-6-1 result, it seems lackluster because it's a 0 in front, but then the fact that means they took 6 games off throughout. So every opponent except for 1, they've taken a map off, they've tied. That's pretty impressive, especially.
And who knows how they would have gone in best of 3s, right?
Exactly.
'Cause that's what
That's
we're going to,
know.
obviously, later on.
So definitely pretty interesting, but here the big storyline is, can eHome make it all the way to the very top of Group B? And is Empire going to give it their all, of course, which I'm sure they want to tie VP and force it to a tiebreaker for that upper bracket versus lower bracket difference? And that one is huge. I mean, because if you go into the lower bracket again, as we've been mentioning throughout the week, next week, the very first matches in the lower bracket are best of 1. So you just don't want to have to play that risk. You want to start somewhere where you start with a best of series, and then you also get that second chance in the lower bracket.
we get more Dota if Empire 2-0s. That's what everyone wants, right? More Dota.
That is true. Winter, you don't seem that excited. Come on, man.
Man, it's a good
you're
game.
a VP fan?
Compared to Empire, kind of yes, because I like to watch how FNG drafts and the way he thinks, like he picks heroes for his team, for his players. Like for G and for Illidan, he likes to give them their like favorite heroes. I like the way he just picks their favorite heroes and just give it to them in the draft and fits the other 3 towards the 2 of their heroes. Like the 2 of their core players' heroes. So
Right.
I'll be sad if he goes down.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, again, no one gets knocked out, though, right, in the group stages. So
yeah,
that's
but
already pretty
then I'll
exciting.
see less of VP, technically.
Well, you know, it depends on how. Well, I guess no matter what, I
Yeah.
guess you would see less because they would be playing technically less matches. But either way, no one gets knocked out. So for all those at home or all those that are coming to the main event in the Key Arena, that's pretty exciting. At the very least, you know, there's nothing like, oh, I was a fan of this team and I went to the tournament, but I actually had no chance to see them. You're gonna have a chance to see them at least in some way or form. You'll be able to watch their games, and hopefully they move onward. It's going to be a pretty exciting battle next week, no matter how Group B settles, I think. It should be very, very, very fun to watch. So now, again, the 2 matches left are CDEC versus eHome, and that's, of course, got its own little story there, and Empire versus MVP Hot 6. Let's start talking about CDEC versus eHome.
Rematch.
Rematch indeed. I mean, this one, you know, one of the more recent ones, of course. Does the rematch really play into this, though?
So just to specify, with rematch, we mean the rematch of the finals of the qualifiers.
Right,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah. So these were the 2 top teams in the China's qualifiers. Most people deemed that neither of them would have a really good shot at this event or at placing high. I think a couple of people were saying CDEC actually could make a big upset and be really good. So, for example, LD, so good prediction. Going into this, I think history is not important. I think eHome were just stronger in the qualifiers by far. In this tournament, CDEC has maybe been the team that has improved the most over the last month and a half. Like it's actually been incredible how far they've come so far. If they can keep up their high level of play, I think they're the favorites going into this one. Whereas in the qualifiers, most people just said eHome will win the finals of that one. So that alone just shows how much better they've come.
Winter, what do you think about just these two teams matching up?
I think that eHome has also improved their game in the past couple of series, so I definitely agree that CDAC they look more like the favorite coming into this match, and they look much more stable and stronger than eHome in general in all their games. But I wouldn't count eHome off because they've been improving as well, and they are both Chinese teams, so they're going to understand each other very, very well, and who knows. Anything can happen, but slight edge to CDAC.
Yeah, and Dakota, any thoughts on your end?
I think it's going to come down a lot to the early game. CTY is a very gifted mid laner, and I'm very anxious to see that mid lane matchup. But then also if how the off lane is going to go for eHome. They have ROTK.
That's what we always talk about, how the off lane is going to go for eHome.
So
they have ROTK.
On the other side, you have aggressive, and he could punish ROTK if he just does too many ROTK things. So.
There you go. I mean, I'm glad you guys brought up ROTK. Again, we're talking about eHome possibly making a sudden run in the very last day to possibly first place in Group B. You guys are saying ROTK matters a lot for eHome in game. At the same time, of course, out of game, of course, it's going to matter. eHome making a run for TI5. Let's take a look at ROTK's story alongside eHome coming into TI5.
小时候嘛，就是自己比较叛逆，然后自己性格其实很活泼。
一会儿抢着了，一会儿爬拉起了，三跑两步跑，那也把他找不到，又跑到游戏厅。
然后有一群人，大概比我年长10岁左右。有一次他们在玩一个 RPG 地图，就是那个时候的 Dota 1，他们9个人，当时少一个，然后就因为认识我，就叫我一起。我说我不会，他们说没事，你不会，我们教你。他们当时就让我选个宙斯，说你就玩这个英雄，一直跟在我们后面垫着你了。我说好好好，然后我就玩，完了之后